Hello everyone, Robert Saunders here, and today we're going to really dive deep here how to deploy APEX Block with Terraform into Azure. But first we need to understand what we're deploying in the topology. So with this type of deployment, it's called co-resident, which means the storage nodes, SDS on the screen, live in combo with the MDM and the PowerFlex management plane. All of this is going to get deployed with Terraform after we set up just a few steps. So this is really cool. Let's take a look and unpack all of the goodness here. PowerFlex manager stack, again, we're going to deploy, you're going to see me use PFX or PFXM in the demo. PFMP is the management platform. And then again, at the bottom there, it's a co-resident deployment that we're going to deploy into Azure today with Terraform. So last but not least, right out of the gate, the Terraform resources, the link is there. The Git repo is also there for Azure Block Storage. And I have to do a huge shout out to all of our Dell DevOps teams that continue to make this better. We all contribute together. It's a lot of fun to work with these guys. They work, or gals, guys and gals, they work fast, they work efficient. We collaborate a lot. I love working with them. So hats off to that team for sure. They're awesome. So now let's get after it. So here we are, Visual Studio Code. I'm using a Git bash session, Terraform deployment, and I've already connected with AZCLI. You're going to hear me talk about it a lot, but in the README here, it's a great place. We put a lot of effort into making this README really elegant and a great place to kind of go to just walk through step by step. We're going to do everything today in this video. So please take a look at the README. There's a lot of details there. First and foremost, I'm going to confirm my target subscription, which is up in Azure. Perfect. I know I'm connected. I'm going to initialize Terraform. This is all, if you used Terraform before, you get it. We initialize the Terraform modules. And now we need to build the plan. The plan is what we're going to execute against when we type Terraform apply. But first, let's build the plan so we have a known state that we're deploying to here. So we build the plan, and now we're simply going to apply the plan that we created. Now this apply is going to take about 2 hours. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I'm going to show you what's going on here in a second. And it's worth noting that some of the variables I have there, the cluster count, there's enabling the jump host, the bastion. I even have a SQL workload VM in there, multi-AZ, the location, and the existing resource group, and even the prefix. All of this highly configurable. This is in the Terraform TF vars file. That's where you configure all this. And you do that actually before you even do a Terraform plan. So I kicked off the apply here, but let's look at some of the variables that are in Terraform that you can actually configure, because we've been asked by a lot of folks, they want maybe change the IP scheme around. They can do that. There's the VNet address space that's going to get deployed by default. There's the block storage subnet, also going to get deployed. The bastion subnet. Some more cluster variables here and defaults. You see the default node count up there. More details on the validation. And then the default VM sizes for the various VMs that we're going to stand up depending on what your configuration is. And last but not least, the marketplace images. You can go to the Azure Marketplace and you can look for the Dell images. This is how we use the images that are actually in the marketplace, pick them up by default with Terraform, and deploy everything to make the entire cluster here with Terraform. There's the additional images, Windows Server for the jump host. There's the SQL Server image that I put in because I needed to have that to do some more demos in the future. But that's great to have as a workload test also. So here is our target resource group. It just got created because I hit Terraform apply, but there's nothing in here yet because it's still taking maybe a minute or two for artifacts to start dropping in. That's perfectly fine. We see we're just here in 45, 50 seconds. And now we can refresh the browser, the portal, and we'll see artifacts start dropping in. Of course, we're going to get the NICs and the disks first. Then we're going to attach those to VMs. And then we have some scripting that's going to install the PFMP all behind the scenes, and this is very cool. So I'll filter here just on VMs. Now the installer, which is one of the VMs here in the list, is doing all the work at this point as it installs and pushes the bits out to all of the SDS nodes, again, to make that co-resident deployment. That's what's going on. Now this is cool. If you haven't used this, this is the Bastion tunnel that you can actually tunnel in from your local laptop and just tail the log, and you can see what's going on. You can do this with the Bastion tunnel. You can also go to the jump host and do the same thing. So here's how we're going to do it from the Bastion tunnel. I wanted to show this because I think this is pretty neat. Again, the README has all the details here. I grabbed the target resource ID, and I'm just using Notepad to build my connection right here. So I take a look at this. Again, I'm already authenticated, so I know I can get in. I'm going to open up a new terminal window, and I'm simply going to paste in that Bastion Connect code. It'll take just a few seconds to connect. And there it is. So now this connection will stay open, and I can open up additional terminal windows like an SSH Connect, so I can go tunnel right in to the installer. So let's do that. You can either use SSH keys, you can use those, or you can use password. We've got it set to password. I need to type in the password correctly. There we go. So now I am tunneled right into the installer. You can see home, PowerFlex user, that's the directory I'm in. This installer that I'm monitoring here, now I'm going to tail the log, the Bedrock log, and I'm just going to watch the log tailing to the screen. Now again, this is going to take a couple hours, but it is nice to know what's going on. At least you know there's still work going on, because from a Terraform perspective, we don't get the most robust logging, which is fine. We've executed some scripts here that Terraform knows it executed, but it doesn't know what they're actually doing. And again, as I mentioned, you can actually connect to the jump host that we also deploy via the Bastion if you'd like, and you can SSH in via command line from the jump host if you'd like to. I kind of do it both ways depending on what I'm showing. So here's the jump host that also got stood up. I kind of use this as an edge browser. You'll see this here in a second when we get to PFMP. I'll grab the installer IP address if I'd like to monitor the Bedrock log from here. And again, I can SSH in PowerFlex user at the IP address of the installer. Same drill, type in the password. You can also use keys if you'd like. That's entirely up to you. So here I am in the same directory, home, PowerFlex user. So you could also tail the log here if you'd like. It's entirely up to you. Have some options. So here we are watching the log just do its thing, or watching the installer do its thing, actually. And this is going to take a little time. So really at this point, go grab some coffee and just let the installer work. So I'll grab a sip of coffee here while we're watching this demo speed up. So fast track forward to about 2 hours here, plus or minus. And we're done. So there's the output right there. This is nice. There's the Bastion tunnel output. If you'd like to use that again later, you can. You're going to see how we're going to use it here in a second for step 2. There's also my IP addresses of my co-resident SDS nodes that were stood up in Azure. We see all the infrastructure as code is deployed. We know it's properly configured. And then just scrolling through the very end of the tail log here, we can see this is when we know we're done. When we see the total seconds here, everything all added up. And we're done. So step 1 is all done. No more manual intervention there at all. So we can actually go up to the jump host and we can browse to the IP address. By default, it's 10.2.0.200. Remember to use HTTPS, by the way. And you can take a look here at the PowerFlex Manager. The first time you log in, admin and admin with a capital A, 1, 2, 3, bang, is the default password, you're going to need to change it. Super easy. I'll change it here real quick. And there's not a lot to see inside of the PowerFlex manager here at this point, except that it's up, it's running, and that's all we care about at this point. Now we're going to actually need to bring all of those storage nodes together and the MDM, the metadata manager. We're going to deploy that also with step 2. And there we go. The final step actually, and this is a part I really love that the DevOps teams put together, is we're actually going to execute the Terraform from the context of the installer. Let's see how we do that. Again, it's all in the README, very detailed steps. I put a lot of extra miscellaneous steps down here in the bottom just so everybody's very clear. And I'm going to use the same Bastion tunnel that I used before. I'm still connected, so I'm going to use this to copy up a couple files. Now, it's worth noting I need to copy up the PowerFlex bits that align with the storage deploy that I deployed, and you can get those from the Dell support site. Again, it's all detailed here in the README. So let's, like I say there, simply follow the steps. So we'll zoom in and then we'll start going through what we're going to do here. We're going to copy up those PowerFlex bits. Every time you do an SCP, it's going to ask you for the password. So there go the correct PowerFlex bits up to the installer, and also this Git repo. Because remember, the Terraform is going to execute from the context of the installer. I'll do some unzipping. I'll get in with root. There we go. There's all the packages that I'm going to need, that the step 2 is going to need to finish up the PowerFlex install, so you have your storage cluster in the cloud. I'll unzip the Terraform repo. This repo we're working out of. I just copied the whole zip file up there. It makes it a little easier, a little faster. There we go, unzipped, perfect. Now I want to quickly just get into the proper directory, which would be the Azure underbar core. And now this is really cool. The Terraform TF bars for step 2 was actually dynamically built by step 1 and populated with all the correct parameters that we need to finish up. This used to be a manual step. It's now automated. It's awesome. I love it. So I moved the Terraform bars into the same directory. There you can see the listing out. And then just like we did before, we're going to initialize Terraform, but this time we're going to do it from the installer that we're tunneled in. There's the Terraform TF bars. I can cat this out if I'd like. There you can see, again, this was all dynamically built by step 1. No need to change anything. No updates needed here. Just a review if you'd like to take a look. Then what's left? Again, we need to make a plan. So we're going to, same thing, we're going to build the Terraform plan. That executes really fast on a Linux host, and then we're going to apply the Terraform plan. Now this will take about 5 plus or minus minutes. Not very long. This actually goes pretty quick. But the neat thing here, as we see Terraform's reporting the creating status, we can also go back into the jump host, go into PowerFlex Manager, and we can monitor the events. So let's log back into the jump host via the Bastion for the jump host from the Azure portal. Again, I changed the user, or I changed the password, so I'll log in. Now I'm simply going to monitoring events in PowerFlex Manager. And here's where they're going to list and scroll as that process we just kicked off from the installer is executing. This is not going to take very long at all. We can see our execution there, 2 minutes, 50 seconds. Still moving along. This is scrolling through, going through all the details. You can read all the events. You can drill into them if you like. And we're done. Step 2 finished really quick. Now we have a brand new APEX Block install managed with PowerFlex Manager in Azure, all ready to consume or actually accept connections from hosts via the SDC to consume the storage. There's the metadata manager all stood up now. Those IP addresses in the management IP align directly with what we built from the Azure portal. They're all online. We have a single protection domain all ready to go. And then the SDS nodes, there they are. There's all 5 of them. It's all ready. There's the IP addresses that were built from the dynamic Terraform. And that's it. We're done. This video took about 11 minutes. The whole deployment takes about 2.5 hours. There you go. Awesome to see. Full enterprise grade storage cluster in the cloud. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.